was always great, and the energy. So anytime we make a song and the song come out crazy, you know how Busta's energy is. That's Busta all the time.
Right.
So if the song come out hot, we're literally fighting in the studio. Like we're body slamming each other, throwing each other over the couches, and that was the energy.
Welcome to BET Talks. I'm your host, Mia Bell, and today I have the pleasure of sitting with the turntable whisperer, producer, entrepreneur, DJ Scratch. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you so much for being here and this amazing experience that we've all got to join in on, which is hip hop, right?
Yes, yes.
And before we dig into the music, of course, I just have to know if this was always a part of the dream for you.
Honestly, no, because none of this has ever happened. You know, this thing is 50 years old.
Right.
So we didn't have anything to look forward to when we first started doing it. You know, like any other type of sport or business or anything like that. So I can never say I knew I was gonna make it because there was nothing to make it to.
Right.
We didn't have anybody for an example yet.
What did you want to do as a kid growing up?
I just wanted to make people happy playing records because that's what I saw as a kid. Around 3 years old, my brother took me to a jam in the park in Brooklyn. And I just saw how every time the DJs would play a song, it would make people so happy. I'm like,
What was playing around that time?
they were playing James Brown. So it was, it was like a sound clash. One crew was playing a break and everybody ran over to his side, and then the other DJ would play a break and everybody run to the other side of the schoolyard to his side, and it just made people happy. I'm like, just playing records make people happy. I wanna try to do that when I get older.
Yeah, and I love scrolling on your Instagram because you always drop gems about how it was when you were coming up.
Yes.
And I came to find out that you knew DJ Clark Kent when you guys were kids.
Yeah, 8 years old.
8 years old.
Yeah.
Both running around trying to figure out this DJ thing.
Yeah.
And what, was it his brother who never let you guys touch his turntable?
No, actually my neighbor's brother.
Okay.
You know, I used to go to my neighbor's house, and his older brother was a DJ. So go in the basement and watch him, and of course I asked to get on the turntables, and he said no. Expected. I'm an 8-year-old kid. I wouldn't let an 8-year-old kid get on my turntables.
Any of yours, right?
In the 70s, because there was no kid DJs back then. And then the next day I went over there. There was another kid over there. He was taller than the rest of us, and same thing. He asked me. He said, "Do you know how to DJ?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "He won't let me get on his turntable."
Did you really know?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
Yeah,
Okay.
because my older brothers were DJs.
Oh, yeah.
So I would get on their set when they leave out of the house, sneak and get on their stuff. And so the kid was like, "Yo, I got my own turntables at my house. You want to go to my house?"
Right.
I'm like, "Where do you live?" He said, "I live across the street up the block." So I said, "Let me ask my mother." I brought him to my mother. She said, "Where do you live?" And he said, "Right there across the street." And she let me go. And went in his basement, because the basement was his bedroom because he was the oldest. And before I even noticed the turntables, he had sneakers from floor to ceiling. He had boxes of sneakers. And this is the 70s, so I never seen anything like that before. So I thought it was comic books.
Right.
And so I was like, why you got all these boxes? What are those comic books? He said, "No, they're sneakers. I love sneakers." I'm like, "There's no way there's sneakers in all those boxes." And he was like, "Yeah, try, look." So I stuck my hand in about 10 of the boxes. There were sneakers.
Wow.
And then I noticed the turntables, and we was friends ever since.
And that's when things kind of kicked off for you in real life, huh?
Yes.
Now, when did it become an actual work thing for you? Because I know you were on tour with Run DMC before you linked up with EPMD.
Yes. It became work for me at 15.
Okay.
So I started touring all around the country. There's a skating rink in Queens, New York, what used to be in Queens, New York, called United Skates of America. And I won a DJ battle there, and whoever wins gets a chance to DJ at the other locations around the country. They had an MC battle too, so the MC battle, Super Lover C won the MC battle. So they paired both of us, and we went around the country on all of these skate locations, and that was my first tour.
And what was your family saying around this time? Like your mom, who, you know, gave you the permission to go over to your friend's house to DJ, what was the energy like?
Well, it was something that I wouldn't get in trouble for. I grew up in Brooklyn, poor kid. I'm number 5 of 6 boys.
Wow.
So my mother raised 6 boys by herself. So she was like, if this is gonna keep him out of trouble, then let him do it.
And then what about the introduction to EPMD? How did that happen?
That happened by me being on tour, opening up for Run DMC. So when we toured all over Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and when we came home, a week later, Jam Master Jay called me because I didn't know he was gonna. I didn't think I would ever see them again because I'm just thinking, you know, we're on tour. I'm on tour with with my idols, that we're just friends because we're on tour. When this tour's over, I'm never gonna hear from these guys again.
So you had no expectations?
No.
Okay.
No. So a week later, he called me and said, yo, you want to go to EPMD show in Jersey? And he drove to the projects, picked me up, went to the show, and we noticed their DJ wasn't there. Their bodyguard had a reel-to-reel on stage, hit and start and stop for EPMD.
The bodyguard?
Yeah, the bodyguard was pressing start and stop. And after the show, Jam Master Jay brought me onto their tour bus, and he said, yo, man, that reel-to-reel on tape is whack. You should take my man on the road. He just won the world championship, and it was like, nah. They said no, because at that time, they won their second single for their first album, and they went through 2 DJs. So they didn't want to deal with any more DJs, and Jay said to them, he said, as a favor for me, take him on the road for a week, and if you don't like him, send him home. So they couldn't say no to him because when when their record first came out, their first single, Jam Master Jay let EPMD travel on their tour bus.
Oh, okay.
So they couldn't say no. So so he was like, yo, after they see you, they never gonna let you go.
Right.
So after the first show I did with them, after that show, they was like, yo, you gonna stay? You wanna stay? And that was it.
Did you show out during
Absolutely.
that first show?
That was my moment.
Okay.
I had to pull every trick in the book out on stage, and that was it.
Wow. Now, EPMD made such a stamp in hip hop. When they broke up, what was that energy like for you? And did you feel like almost the same way you felt when, you know, Run DMC was done with their tour? Was it kind of just like, okay, time to move on to the next thing? Was it discouraging, or was it the perfect transition for you to move on to the next?
Well, I just looked at everything black and white, just simply because of where I come from. You know, you people that sell your dreams and, you know, things like that, it doesn't work out. So even though I went around the world already, I understood places where I read about in school, it didn't hit me yet. And so when the group broke up, I was just like, nothing lasts forever.
Right.
And during the time with Run DMC, Jam Master Jay and actually Flavor Flav, they gave me so much knowledge. And one of the things Jam Master Jay said to me back then, I was 19 years old, he said, if you ever get with a group, establish yourself as an artist, because groups always break up. This is before any rap group broke up at that time, but he was talking about the Temptations. He was talking about Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, you know, all of these iconic groups that broke up, the Commodores, you know, all of these groups. So I listened to him and prepared myself. So when the group broke up, I was just like, you know, nothing lasts forever. And it was actually, I needed that break, because I had a son at the time. I was the first one to have a kid. Okay. And we were on tour for like 4 or 5 months out of the year, so I needed that break to, you know, be home with my family, be home with my new son. And then I had time to actually start producing, making beats.
Yeah.
So it was a blessing in disguise.
Of course. Family time and joining a new venture.
Yeah.
Now that DJ to producer pipeline, I feel like, yeah, we see it, but it's not the same as it used to be, right? Now, within this time, you're establishing yourself as a producer, and then Busta Rhymes happens, right? Yes. Talk to me about that experience and how you guys got together, because I know Busta went through a breakup too.
Right. He was kicked out of his group twice.
Yeah.
With Busta, I actually ran into Busta's cousin Rampage.
Okay.
Rapper Rampage. So I ran into him downtown Brooklyn one day, and he was like, yo, man, I need some beats. I'm working on my new album. So I was like, all right, gave me his address. So I bought some beats to his crib. So when I got to his crib, Busta was there.
Okay.
And I knew Busta because we were all managed by Rush Management at that time. So Busta's sitting there on the bed, so I played the beat. I bought 2 beats. I played the beats. Rampage didn't like the beats. That's fine and well. So Busta said, yo, can I take that first one? And I'm like, what are you doing? Because you don't have no group right now.
Right.
He said, nah, he said, I'm still signed to the label as a solo artist. I'm trying to figure it out. So I'm like, nah, you can have the beat. And we swapped numbers. And a few months later, he called me to come and track the beat. And at that time, you know, he was in the studio with Q-Tip at the time, trying to figure out how to rap by himself, because he was always with his group.
Yeah.
So just transitioning to a solo artist was hard for him. Like he literally would be in the studio crying because he was frustrated.
Wow.
And so I gave him this other beat before I tracked the beat that he took, and told him to practice on that. And he practiced on that beat, and we kept that beat of him just practicing, and we put it we put it on his first album. It's not labeled, but it comes on after I think the song was Jeanne, and that song
was the practice?
That practice song is the very first recording he did as a solo artist.
Wow. So you saw the potential.
Yes.
And that's what...
He just needed direction. He needed, you know, just like, you know, artist development. He just needed that. And just me being with EPMD in the studio for 4 albums, I had that experience. And I just gave that experience to Busta Rhymes.
Yeah, and he praises you for that all the time in interviews, whenever he, you know, Busta loves giving people their flowers. Yeah. And that is one thing that he always says about you. What was the experience like? Well, what was the difference working with EPMD and then moving on to Flip Mode and whatnot? The energy, too, I assume was so different.
It was a couple of things, because with EPMD, I didn't know the business of making music. I just wanted to be on the turntables, be on that stage. And as far as producing, it wasn't really a transition for me, because I always thought that the DJ was responsible for any music. So if you're making a demo or whatever, the DJ was always responsible. So I didn't know what a producer was, the term producer. So all of the stuff I produced for EPMD,
you didn't even know you was doing.
I didn't get the credit for 95% of it, because I didn't know the business at the time. So with Busta Rhymes, by that time, me being home, learning the business, reading books and stuff like that. So I learned about publishing and mechanical royalties and all that. So by the time I started working with Busta Rhymes, I had the knowledge, the business-wise knowledge as well. So it was a perfect match, because he's like I always challenged him. So I would give him a beat, something that a style that only I think he can do, because he's like a lyrical gymnast. So I would go, yo, take this beat and I want you to rap to the drums. Don't rap to the anything else in the beat. Rap to the drums, and he would do it. Or if I go, yo, rap to the violins,
something specific,
and he would listen. It was always great, and the energy. So anytime we make a song and the song come out crazy, you know how Busta's energy is. That's Busta all the time.
Right.
So if the song come out hot, we're literally fighting in the studio. Like, we're body slamming each other, throwing each other over the couches, and that was the energy anytime we like something. And the energy with Busta is just amazing. But the great thing about him is that he always listened, and he always followed direction. My direction, he trusted me.
Right.
So that's why all of the music came out the way it did. Like, it was one time I gave him a beat and he didn't like it because he didn't understand it. And it was Gimme Some More.
Oh.
I gave him that beat on his first album,
okay,
'96. And at the time, nobody was making beats with that bounce at that time.
Where did you get that?
Just me creating, being a DJ.
Right.
You know, when I'm making beats, I approach it the same way that I'm approaching DJing.
Okay.
So like, I'll take 2 songs and be cutting them and then make a different beat out of it. So I do the same thing. I approach the same way making beats. So this particular beat, he didn't understand the bounce at the time, so he passed on it. And when we got to his 3rd album, he was like, yo, you still got that beat? I'm like, which beat? He said, yo, the one that sound like Timberland. I'm like, no, that's my style, you know what I mean? I said, yeah, I still got it. So I had to find a disc and went to the studio, tracked it, and he literally wrote and recorded the first 2 verses of Gimme Some More in about 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
As soon as he heard it again,
Timing
it
was
one
right.
and done.
Yeah, the timing was right.
We brought the crates out, okay?
That's it. Ooh.
We brought the crates out. Now, I have to tell you, I was talking to Havoc of Mobb Deep earlier, and, you know, I had him tell me what space and time he was in when I pulled some of these joints out. But for you, I want you to give me a story.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be specifically about the artist or anything, but just whatever you got, because you're a legend in this game. Let's start with Busta Bus. What's up?
Okay. This is his second album.
Yep.
You know, we just came off of his first platinum album. So when we started working on this album, we did it kind of quick. I think I did 8 songs on this album.
Okay.
And we brought Dolomite, rest in peace, Dolomite into the studio to do the intro. And that was crazy in itself. It's like, yo, we got Rudy Ray Moore in the studio. Like,
Right
we used to
now.
sneak and listen to his records because they were our parents' records. We got him in the studio. So we have him on the intro of the album. This album was done so fast, it was like a blur. And the crazy thing was like, this actual album is when we became millionaires.
Really? So this is
First
what took
album,
it there.
the first album, we started caking, we started making some money, but
Little
this one,
something.
this one took us,
This one changed the game for
this
you.
one changed the game. This one
Okay.
changed the game right here.
I love that. Now we're gonna skip to my era. This is what I grew up on.
Wow.
This is one of my favorite albums of all time.
I'm very proud of 50 Cent at this moment, right?
Yeah?
Because everything he went through, you know. I produced on his first album. This is actually his second album.
Right.
First album, Power of a Dollar. I produced a joint on there called I'm a Hustler.
Okay.
And then he got shot. The label seen what happened, heard what happened, and then they dropped him. Nobody wanted to mess with him. You know, he had to do what he had to do to get better and heal. And when he was trying to come back out and get a deal, no label would go nowhere near him, because rappers was you know, they talk all that street stuff, but they never really seen it happen.
Right.
Until it happened to him, and it
Yeah.
was like, oh no, we don't want no parts of that. Nobody wanted to go nowhere near 50 Cent because of what happened to him. Like, because it was, you know, cats rap about it, but this was actually real thing. And one day, Chris Lighty, rest in peace, Chris Lighty called me and was like, yo, I need you to make a beat for 50. And I always did anything for 50 simply because he's also a disciple of Jam Master Jay.
Yeah.
Jam Master Jay discovered 50 Cent. So any call for 50, you got whatever, you know, whatever. So so we did the record, 50 Shot Ya, and that's the first record that Hot 97 and any other station across the country would play a 50 Cent
Really?
at that time. And that record led to him getting the deal with Eminem, which
produce
created
it.
this album.
Wow. See, that's a story I didn't know. I love that. Tribe Called Quest.
Man, these is my brothers.
Yeah,
Rest in peace, Phife Dawg.
of course.
The year 2000, Q-Tip started working on this solo album. I produced 2 joints on there. So I was DJing for Q-Tip, EPMD, and Jay-Z at the same time.
Wow. Now, were they pulling you in all different directions? Like, how did that work?
For some reason, the schedules worked out. You know, when Jay was on the road, these 2 weren't on the road, and vice versa, and vice versa. And the reason why rappers started sampling and producers started sampling jazz, because James Brown had a beef with hip hop
Really?
at that time. Yeah, he did a song with Full Force and told hip hop to get off his tip. I don't know if y'all remember that song, but and James Brown is our hero. He's the reason hip hop exists. Rest in peace, James Brown. And at that time, he had a beef with hip hop, and when he made that record and told hip hop to get off his tip, it crushed all of us. So we were forced to not sample James Brown no more. So then we had to start digging in the crates.
Yep.
That's where the term came from, because of what happened with James Brown. So we had to start digging in the crates and look for other music besides James Brown, which was hard.
Yeah.
You know, so we started looking at other genres of music like jazz and blues and and different types of soul, and this is the result of that.
Wow. Well, thank you to James Brown. 'Cause
Absolutely.
that forced y'all to get the Barry Harris trios out, huh?
Yeah. Man.
J Dilla.
Man, that's my little bro right there.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. J Dilla, well, we call him JD.
Okay.
He was discovered by Q-Tip.
Yeah.
And when we brought him in the studio for Busta's first album, he played this beat, and this beat was so insane, but Busta didn't get it at the time. He didn't get it because we were working on the first album. So I told him, I said, yo, don't give away this beat. He saved the beat for me. I said, please don't give away this beat. So he did Still Shining on Busta's first album. When we got to the second album, when we got to Disaster Strikes, there's a song called Hardcore. That was the beat that I told him to save.
Really?
Because Busta didn't get it at that time. But once we did that first album and we revisited that beat when we started working on Disaster Strikes, he listened to it immediately and he got it. But when he came into the studio, when JD came into the studio to track the beat, that's when I understood the mad scientist in him, the way he made the beat. Like, he had all of these sounds in 16 pads. Actually, he used all 32 pads. It's 16 pads and 4 banks.
Okay.
To sample 32 times, because that's what we had to do in the MPC 3000s at the time. This ain't the software days.
Right. It's a lot of work.
We had to literally sample 32 sounds.
In order to get.
And that's how he made the beat. So the beat goes boop boop, doo doo, doo doo, and he was just doo doo, doo doo, doo doo, doo doo, doo doo, and then hit the next pad, the next 16. And then I held the pad down, and then I held the second pad down. It's one long sample, but he had the notes cut off. So he basically sampled the same, like, 60 seconds of music in all 32 pads. And he would chop it to where he wanted to hit it. And
he had to sit there.
He just made his own music out of one song. One 60-second piece, he recreated his own music.
Genius.
Yeah.
Wow. And saved it for you.
Yeah.
Wow. See, I knew you'd had the stories. Man. Nah.
In my opinion, this is the greatest hip-hop album ever made.
I agree.
It's perfection.
I agree.
I wish Nas would go back into the studio with that lineup. Please, Nas, one time. I know you're doing your joints with Hit Boy. Those are incredible, but just for me as a fan, we need Premier, Pete Rock, Large Professor, LES. We just need it one time. We just need that dream team. And I remember when this album came out, this is the time when we didn't pay attention to SoundScan. And I remember when this album came out, that first week's sales is stuck in my head because he sold 212,000 copies in his first week, which is 212 New York. That's why it's stuck in my head like that. But yeah, that's the greatest, that's it right there. That's the greatest album, greatest hip hop album.
Of all time. And you will be hosting Andy opening up on the New York State of Mind tour, right?
Absolutely.
So please let him know. We got to get back to that. But I do love everything he does with Hit Boy, though.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'll see Nas next week. We'll be on stage. Man, and I've been blessed to work on a couple of joints for Nas too. So, man, this right here, this is another classic.
Yeah.
This is another classic. Let me just touch
Come
it.
on.
This is just
about
another classic. And just to cover the minivan, like Kendrick is
astronomical when it comes to this, man.
Yeah, and he's just anti everything that's going on. Like, yo, I'm gonna just put a minivan. And I don't know if this is his minivan or his mama's minivan, but just this album is just incredible. And it's anti everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Anti everything that's going on. Just down to the recipe with Dr. Dre, I play this all the time.
Yeah, to this day, it's still my favorite from
Yeah.
Kendrick.
Yes, this is my favorite album from Kendrick. He need to go back to this, right?
Yeah,
He need to go back to this.
absolutely. I love it. Now, talk to me about the space you were in
Wow.
when this came out.
This is another album that came out when EPMD had broken up. This is that time. Wow. 36 Chambers. It was so dirty and just anti everything that we do. Like the loops were offbeat, and we didn't care. Like Riz is a genius.
Yeah.
Riz is a genius, and we didn't know the backstory of anything with this album before it came out, but this wound up being one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time. And the crazy thing is, when the first single came out, "Protect Your Neck," I knew Old Dirty Bastard from Brooklyn.
Okay.
Because Riz is from Brooklyn, Jizza and Old Dirty is from Brooklyn. So I met Old Dirty Bastard years ago because he came to my house to battle me. He was a DJ.
Who won?
I did. He didn't even get on the set. But he, somebody brought him to my crib, because this is what we used to do back in the days. In the summertime in Brooklyn, people would come to the block party. We playing out in the projects.
Right.
I'm from Albany Projects in Brooklyn and Crown Heights. So when we got our sets out, people would come out and want to battle. In the wintertime, we would go to each other's houses. So a dude I know that knows him, it's like, yo, my man from down the way, he want to battle you. I'm like, bring him to the crib. So he brought this guy to the crib, brought him in my room, and I was like, you want to go on first? He was like, nah, you go first. So I went first, and he was like, nah, you got it.
Who was judging these battles?
It was just, my friends in the crib, but you lost. You know what I mean? Like, you lost. So he didn't even get on the set. He was like, nah, you got it. And we became friends from that point on. And one day I seen him in the summer during the New Music Seminar that used to happen every summer. And I ran into him, and he was like, yo, Scratch, I made a new record. I'm like, oh, word? He handed me 2 copies. He's like, yo, Protect Your Neck, Wu-Tang. I'm like, Wu-Tang, like the Kung Fu movies? He was like, yeah. I'm like, yo, that's crazy. So I'm thinking he did the scratches, because I know him as a DJ. So I'm like, that's what's up, man. I'm gonna listen to it when I get to the crib. So I got home, I listened to it. I'm like, there's no scratches on this record.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of dudes rapping on it. All right, whatever. Months later, I saw the video on Video Music Box, and that's when I saw him. I didn't know he was Old Dirty Bastard.
Wow.
Because it's my man Russ. I didn't know he was Old Dirty Bastard. That's when I figured out he was a rapper. He turned into a rapper.
Wow. Did you ever consider rapping?
No, we all rapped back then. I come from day 2 of hip hop, so back then, a DJ also rapped.
Right.
That was a part of it. It wasn't partitioned. It wasn't the MC and then the DJ. Like, if you ever listen to Run from Run DMC, he never calls himself an MC. He always calls himself DJ Run.
Right.
He was a DJ. But most of the OG DJs were also rappers. So yeah, we all rapped. I had bars.
And you did?
Yeah.
What was your rap name?
I'm not gonna say nothing.
What was your rap name?
No, there wasn't rap names.
Okay.
You were a DJ.
Right.
You were a DJ. So like, for example, DJ Hollywood. DJ Hollywood was like the premier #1 DJ in New York City from like the late 60s to the late 70s. But he rapped as he DJ'd at the same time. So nobody had rap names,
Okay, Scratch had bars.
Yeah.
Naughty by Nature.
Another album, another incredible album. I just did Red Bull Stadium with these guys.
And what was that energy like, bringing it back?
Man, that was crazy, because we Messi was in town. Messi was in town playing our New York Red Bulls, and Messi comes to town. Everybody's coming to see Messi play. You know what I mean? So that was crazy. But yeah, this is another album. This was another album on a different type of creative side, because they added musicianship with samples, and then some of the songs weren't samples at all. And Tretch was always a super incredible MC. I knew Tretch before Naughty by Nature formed, so I was happy for them when they came out and blew up.
One thing that I think is cool too, I mean, you've seen hip hop grow in so many ways. It's almost like you guys all knew each other from around the way because of, you know, the longevity and just being a part of the genre as it came up.
Yeah, I was fortunate to see a lot of these artists before they came out and watch them, you know, grow to greatness.
What does this album cover do for you?
This is
Gangsta.
this is another classic by I think is the greatest hip hop producer of all time, DJ Premier. I have a few friends in the music industry. This is one of my best friends ever in from the music industry. It's like a guy that can just eat at the table with my kids. You know what I mean? He just happened to be the greatest hip hop producer of all time. DJ Premier, and if you saw how he made beats at that time, you would be like, how's he doing this with this?
Yeah, and it's so crazy because Premier and, you know, Clark Kent, whenever they are asked about producers in this space, your name always comes up and they praise you.
That's an honor.
Yeah.
For them to say my name?
Yeah.
That's an honor. That's an honor.
Brooklyn, Brooklyn, Brooklyn.
BK all day.
Life After Death.
Man, this album.
What were you doing around this time?
I was, I had just started touring with EPMD again. We had just got back together, and I'm producing. So I'm working on Busta stuff, Flip Mode, and doing stuff for Diddy too at the time, because when Diddy needed scratches for a song, he'd call me. So I was in the Bad Boy studio a lot. I did the scratches for 112, Dance With Me. And I seen a lot of this album being made.
Wow.
Yeah. Seen a lot of this album being made. Incredible. And with a lot of albums, what y'all hear is the finishing product. I heard songs that didn't make it from this album. Actually, the songs had to get played over because of sample clearances. So it took me a long time to like a few of these songs that's on there because they were played over, but I had the original copies of them.
Right.
Like Story to Tell. The beat was different. Shout to Buck Wild. Original version of it, it's the beat. It's the same drums, but it was the sample. They played the sample over, so I didn't like it at first. Took me a while. It took a while to grow on me, and the joint RZA did for him. The sample was different. So it was about 3 or 4 songs. The sample was different. So it took me a while to get into this album because I had the original copies. And same thing like with The Chronic.
Yeah.
I had the original cassette of the songs, and then they had sample issues, so they started playing stuff over. So
you've heard so many different versions.
Yeah, the original version. So it took me a minute to get into this album, but then once I got into it, I'm like, it's Biggie. You know, Biggie's just gonna take you on so many different journeys with his storytelling. Like, I think he's like the second next to Slick Rick as far as storytelling.
Now, hip-hop is the gift that keeps on giving,
Absolutely.
especially to you. You find ways to recreate yourself and everything that you do time and time again. I know that you said, actually, and I mentioned it to Havoc as well, that every 3 years, it's a new era of music, and you got to stay on top of it. How do you stay on top of it? And what advice would you give to producers who are up now, who are going to be here 50 years later, doing the same thing that you did?
Yeah, you got to keep reinventing yourself. And then now with the technology, there's so many different things you can get into now. Like we didn't have these options back when these records came out. You can be a producer, and then next thing you know, you're scoring movies. Next thing you know, you're just doing something that you had no idea you were capable of doing because of the technology now.
Right.
So you can make a beat now and get a hit record. It's streaming everywhere. It's licensed in movies. Next thing you know, you done made like $200,000-$300,000, and then you build an app, and then the app gets bought by Amazon, and then you got $1 billion just because you made a beat in the house. So the sky's the limit now. When just by doing something in the crib because you love hip hop.
Yeah. And we know you love it, and we know that you're not going anywhere.
Not at all.
Thank you for your contribution to this space, all the stories that you gave us today. You done blessed us with so much knowledge, and it's Scratch Vision versus everybody.
Versus everybody.
That's how we doing it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.